In this video, I'm going to show you how I straightened a twisted torsion box table for this CNC machine that I'm reconstructing and putting back together. So there was a slight twist in the torsion box, and I had to take the rails off and sand down the high spots, and then put it all back together and test it, make sure that it's straight. So I'm going to show you how I did that in this video. It's nice having another project to work on. So while I'm waiting for the epoxy to cure on this next panel for the sailboat, I can be working on the CNC machine. So that's what I'm doing over here. And I want to find out if the original table that I built has a similar wobble as the second table. So when I put it here on my workbench and put it down here, indeed I see the same wobble in the same corner. And if I remember right, when I built this table, I clamped it to this table thinking that this would have been perfectly flat. And all I really did then was transfer the same twist that this table has over to this table. And another good way to confirm this is with this large straight edge. If we put it here like this and tilt it up a bit, there is no light in there. So this edge is straight. And if we move it forward and we put it here and tilt it, and what we're looking for is right in here. See if there's any light coming in right here at this edge right here. And again, I don't see any light shining through there, so this edge is straight. So then if we check the diagonals and put it here diagonally, and look along there, again, there is no light, so that is straight. But here's the problem. When we turn it this way, it looks straight. When we flip it over, let's see, there we go. There is some light here. Right there, you can see that light shining underneath there. So diagonally this way, there's a twist. So now that I've confirmed that the twist is indeed in the tables, both tables, I'm going to try to fix it. And I think I'm going to first take off the rails on this table and see if I can refinish the surface of this to remove that twist. And I think I can do that because the screws that I screwed, it's a little dark here, you'll see this in a little bit later when I turn it back onto the flat, but these screws are countersunk, so they're quite deep there. So I have plenty of room to start shaving off some of this surface of the MDF before I even begin to hit those screws. So that's the plan. I'm going to try to salvage this without completely tearing it apart. Alright, so just to double confirm that the problem really is a twist in this table, I took the rails, the aluminum rails, off of both sides and exposed just the chamfered edge. And I moved the light over here so the light's shining this way so it'll be easier to see. And while I've got it here, I was going to point out how these screws are sunk down in here. There you can see a screw head there, and that's at least a 1/16 of an inch in there, so I think there's plenty of room to shave some of this off. Alright, so let's move the long straight edge over here. And I couldn't do this earlier because the rails were sticking up, so, but now that the rails are off, this straight edge can lay flat. So now, if we turn this, you can easily see that light shining through underneath this straight edge. And that's the problem that we need to fix. If we move it this way, and turn it here, let's see. Yeah, okay, so I'm seeing some light shining through on this side as well. So this is why I wanted to double check. So it's not just a simple twist. It looks like it's a twist, and the center of this table might be bowed down because both directions are showing light underneath the straight edge. Alright, so I have some work to do here to try to get this straightened, and I'll come back and show you how I did it. Alright, I think I'm going to take this opportunity to remove this overhang here. The end of this table sticks up past the tabletop, and here's a scrap piece of the 6mm plywood, and it sticks up by a little more than that, maybe close to 7mm that it sticks up over this table. So I turned my vacuum off while I'm recording this so you can hear what I'm saying, but normally I would have the vacuum on at the same time, and I would be using both hands on this pole saw and just going along here like this and cutting it flush is working very well. It's not cutting into the table at all, but it's cutting this off flush with the table. So I'm going to continue that, cut these off, and then I will go ahead and straighten up the surface. The other thing that I did up until now is I used the sander and I took off a little bit on the bottom edge of this end so that the table doesn't wobble anymore on my workbench. That doesn't actually remove the twist. That's what I will be resurfacing this tabletop to remove the twist, but sanding this spot down here remove the wobble, so that will help with the work, just to make sure that the piece is not moving around while I'm trying to measure and work on it. Alright, so I'm going to get back to trimming these off, and we'll see where it goes from there. The pull saw worked really well. This is how it came out. I haven't sanded this at all, and you can still see some of the cut marks on it, but it is perfectly flush. I'll touch this up with just a little bit of a sanding, and yeah, so I'm very happy with the pull saw, and now we have a perfectly flat table here with no edge sticking up. I think that will help. One of the reasons I wanted to get rid of this edge is having a table that's completely flat without anything sticking up at the end. Now I know there's going to be a spoiler board on here as well, so this is not going to be the surface that we're going to be cutting on directly. There will be another spoiler board on here. That way, if the router cuts through, it won't damage the table at all. But still, I don't want to have this overhang here. And where I think that's going to be important is for long pieces. Maybe I want to route a very long board that wants to hang over the edge of the CNC machine. Then by not having anything sticking up here, that will make that so much easier. Alright, so now it's on to removing the twist from the table. Alright, I think the table is flat and as untwisted as I can get it, and I'm going to be happy with this. I put the rails back on and they're still very sturdy. I was worried that after I sanded this, and then I had to go over it with a 45-degree chamfer bit again over the edge here, I was worried that that was going to put maybe a bend in this and cause this to be wobbly. But after sanding this down and rechamfering the surface, I could hear that there was just a tiny bit of wood being taken off there at that 45-degree angle. So it had a big impact on the table, but a very small amount of wood had to be taken off of the actual rail surface. And after putting the rails back on, I mean, they might even fit better now than they did before. And at the same time, I was able to knock this edge off here, so it's all perfectly smooth with the surface now. And yeah, I just used the random orbiter sander and checked many times. I would stop many times and check with the straight edge and the light shining behind the straight edge, and look for where the high spots and the low spots were, and go over the high spots again with the sander. I was measuring straight across the table edge on both sides, and then I was measuring diagonally across both sides, and then I was also measuring across the table this way with the straight edge, looking for those high spots. And also by taking a little bit of wood off the bottom of that leg, we no longer have any wobble. So I'm going to call this table ready for assembly.